Hello everybody. So today we're going to look at the chart of Amber Heard, and as you will notice, I have figured out a way to download an app onto my tablet so that I can actually film the screen on my tablet. I haven't made videos or recorded anything for very public consumption in quite a number of years, aside from my meditations. So I am very behind on all of the innovations and all of the new technology. So thank you for your patience. But yeah, so I managed to do this, so you should be able to see the charts better this way. Should be easier to follow. Okay, so Amber Heard, first of all, Amber Heard's birth time is not known. And sometimes when the birth time is not known, I will, like all most other astrologers, I will just choose noon as the time, and sometimes I will ask my guides. And in this case, I asked my guides and I dowsed, and I got that her ascendant is 12 degrees of Capricorn. Now, I'm just going to put a disclaimer here that sometimes my guides will give me an ascendant. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is the right ascendant, but it is the one that they want me to use so that I can get and see the information that they want me to see. Okay, so don't go around the internet saying that Katie says that she knows for sure that Amber's ascendant is 12 degrees Capricorn. All that I'm saying is that for the purpose of this particular look into Amber's chart, I was guided to pick 12 degrees of Capricorn, okay? And in fact, they were pretty precise about 12-21 degrees of Capricorn. So we're going to look at this, and my sense is that by having this particular degree, there will be some things that are highlighted that otherwise we may not see. And however, take it with a pinch of salt in terms of Amber's actual birth time. Who knows if she knows it, and if she has that information somehow. It may be different from this one, okay? All right, a lot of disclaimers here, because one thing that I've noticed when I started this series, I started it because I was just kind of following the trial, and I didn't really know that much about Johnny Depp and about Amber. Before that, I've never been a particularly strong Johnny Depp fan. The kind of movies that he does are not really my kind of movies. I knew very little about Amber Heard before going into this, and so when I started watching the trial, I was literally pulled in mostly by my ongoing fascination with some of the things that are going on in Hollywood, even the dark aspects of Hollywood. I've done a lot of research on that over the years, and so I was looking with that in mind, okay? Now, because I was looking, I also ended up pulling up their charts, and then I started looking at some of the things that I was seeing, and I thought that it was interesting. So I decided to make a couple of videos just for fun. Now, since then, I've realized that this is a very hot button topic that people get very, very heated under the collar about. So just repeating here that this is just an analysis that is not meant to, create huge negative debates. It's just about looking at some charts and looking at some things that we know about these people, and looking about some of the things that the charts are saying, some of the things that the cards are saying, and how it's kind of interesting, okay? So, having said all of that, enough with the disclaimers, right? And if we look at Amber's chart with the 12 degrees Capricorn rising ascendant, we see various things that are interesting. First of all, you will see that Mars is on the ascendant. So the ascendant is this part here. I don't know how to do pointers with this. Okay, the ascendant is the AC to the left of the chart, and Mars is the ball with the arrow on it, okay? That is right on the ascendant in Capricorn. And Mars on the ascendant can make somebody very sexually attractive, okay, even if it's in Capricorn. Capricorn will often give a very defined bone structure on the ascendant. Sometimes Capricorn people look old when they're young and young when they're old, okay? But not always the ascendant is exactly correspondent to people's looks, okay? It can be the style in which somebody interacts with the world, which would be Saturnian, which means that when Amber Heard interacts with the people around her in her day-to-day life, like neighbors, people she bumps into in the street, people that she talks to on the daily basis, people will have a kind of detached Saturnian impression from her, okay? It is not going to be the most... Saturnian people come across as serious, okay? And actually there were some people that commented on that, about the fact that when they used to bump into her into the elevator in the penthouses, that she was not that friendly and she seemed standoffish. That doesn't mean necessarily that she is standoffish, but it means that people will be seeing her Capricorn, Saturn, rather than Johnny Depp's, for example. I can't remember what he had on the ascendant, but oh yeah, the Leo, that is the very Leo with the sun in the 11th, that is much more friendly and kind of theatrical demeanor, okay? Now, the Mars is slightly in the 12th house. And Mars in the 12th house sometimes is a Mars that people do not see, but then sneaks up on you, especially if it's close to the ascendant, okay? And actually, planets that are close to the ascendant in the 10 degrees before the ascendant are usually very powerful, and Mars rules sexuality, but it also rules drive, and it also rules anger, okay? So again, we're super speculating here because we do not know the exact time. I'm working literally, this is a hypothetical model, okay? And with this hypothetical model, we see that the Mars is very strong, and it's kind of hidden because it's behind the ascendant, but it's very strong. And however, it's very close to the surface, okay? So that means that if there were to be an anger issue, or a temper issue, or a physical violence issue, which is something that people have testified to, not just in the trials, but even people in her social circle have disclosed some of this information to journalists on Instagram and so on, that there are very heavy rumors that she was physically violent towards her sister on a regular basis, that she was physically violent towards Johnny Depp at times, and that there definitely is some kind of physical violence. Now, this does not mean that there was no physical violence on Johnny Depp's side just because we are saying that there are reports of physical violence on her side. It just means that there have been reports that there has been physical violence, and here there is a Mars that is very close to the ascendant that could show that, okay? Now, the other thing about this Mars is that it is square to the moon. If you see, there's a red line that goes from the Mars to the moon that is at the top of the chart in the 9th house, okay? And the moon is in Libra, just about. And Libra is kind of interesting as a sign because I have Mars in Libra, so I have a understanding of this energy, okay? That Libra is all about peace, balance, and but it's also about justice. And when Libra feels that there is an injustice, it very easily tilts towards Aries. It's almost like it's a Venus rule sign, but that cares so much about balance and justice that it can tilt into the opposite sign of Aries and Mars if it feels that justice is not there, okay? So when a person is very balanced and healthy, this does not cause humongous problems, okay? But if by any chance a person were not very balanced and healthy, they may feel slighted very easily and then tilt very easily into the Aries expression of the Libra, okay? Now, if you see here, the moon is square Mars. The moon square Mars means that one is very quick to anger. Like, as an emotion, the anger emotion is one that one is quick to go into and that one has a difficult time controlling, okay? Now, as in the last chart where we were looking at Johnny Depp, the moon also shows the kind of mother that somebody had, and I know absolutely nothing about Amber Heard's mother, but one could say that this may come also from the mother and the female line, okay? Now, it can also come from the past and past lives sometimes, you know, like when there's nothing in the present life, sometimes it's coming through the moon expression of other lifetimes, okay? Now, the other thing that we can see here, there's the 3 red lines that are coming out of the moon. One is the one that goes towards Mars. The other, it's Mars and Neptune together, okay? We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, Mars and okay, yes, so I just wanted to make a correction here that when I was saying that it's moon is square Mars, the moon is square Mars conjunct Neptune. Now, because these 2 planets have a 6-degree distance, their midpoint is on 8 degrees, and so because of that, through translation of light, Neptune and Mars together will be considered square to the moon, okay? And I will go into what the Neptune influence is in a minute. But first of all, I wanted to also talk about the moon square Uranus. There is another line that goes out of the moon that goes towards Uranus in the 12th house. And Uranus is the symbol that looks like an old-fashioned TV antenna, okay, at 22 degrees of Sagittarius, okay. Now, moon square Uranus very often is associated with on-off mothering, or a mother that was there and then was not there. And this can be both physically, such as the mother leaves and comes back, or the mother is gone, or emotionally, that is often more common, where the mother checks out emotionally for whatever reason. It can be any reason whatsoever, either because of depression, or because the mother is slightly dissociated, or because the mother is preoccupied with other things, or because there's grief in the family, or because the mother is taking drugs, or whatever. There can be a million reasons for which mothers check out emotionally from their children. But when you have a moon square Uranus, the mothering experience is not consistent. There's on and off in the mothering experience, okay? So that is actually something that is quite common in people that have abandonment issues, and people that have abandonment issues that happen at an early enough age and are severe enough sometimes will develop borderline personality disorder, because borderline personality is very much, it is now believed, something that occurs as a result of early abandonment, okay? And early abandonment, as I say, does not have to be physical abandonment, it can be emotional abandonment. There's a disconnect somehow in the bonding process, and this creates a trauma. There's various things that happened. One is that there's trauma around attachment, okay? And the other thing that happens is that the child does not learn about self-soothing. And so because the child doesn't learn about self-soothing, it tends to act out, it tends to not have very stable emotions, and it tends to overreact to things, okay? So the chart would suggest that there is a possibility of some kind of abandonment or disruption of the early emotional development, okay? Now, however, I don't want you to think that if you see a moon square Uranus in the chart, that automatically translates into abandonment issues, and that automatically translates into personality disorders, because it doesn't, okay? That is just one of the possible expressions of that aspect. There can be many other ones, okay? But the only reason for which I'm mentioning that is because during the trial she did go through a psychological evaluation, and one of the psychology experts made a tentative diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. Now, again, it is not my intent or purpose to make any kind of assertion of that kind. I'm just noticing that one of the possible aspects that could suggest that is present in this chart, okay? However, to be fair, Mars in Libra here, in Johnny Depp's chart, there was a Mars Pluto-Uranus conjunction that is also consistent with, very intense anger outbursts, etc. Okay, not necessarily physical, but that indication was there. So what I'm saying is, in both charts, we can see some of the indicators of some of the things that have been discussed. Okay, and then what was the other thing? Okay, so the same here with Amber. She had, in a similar way to Johnny's chart, you can see that the moon is opposite Uranus. Is opposite Mercury, which is square the Neptune-Mars conjunction. Okay, that she has, meaning that for her also, aggression through words is something that we are seeing. Okay, so one thing that, because there's the Mars is square Mercury, okay, so while there is a, there are signatures that show the volatility and a tendency towards anger outbursts, they are definitely plugged into Mercury, showing that it can be verbal as well, maybe only verbal or verbal and something else, but the planet of words and speaking, and the planet of Mars and aggression, and the planet of emotions, which is the moon, are all connected in a challenging aspect. Okay, so the other thing that I also wanted to point out about this chart is, I don't really want to do a full chart reading because that could take forever. I just wanted to point out a few interesting things, and the other interesting thing is that there is an opposition between the Sun and Pluto, and that this opposition between the Sun and Pluto is on the North Node, South Node axis. So for the people that do not know how to interpret a chart, go to the bottom of the chart, and I'm going to move it here so you can see it, right at the bottom of the chart where it says IC 2945. You will see that thing that looks like a little squiggle with a T in the middle. That's the north node at 2959 of Aries, and the sun is at 1 degree of Taurus, and it's conjunct, that means together, with the north node, which is that squiggle, okay, near the IC. And then if you go to the top here, you will see the P, which is Pluto, which is in the 10th house, close to the black line at the top with the MC 2945 Libra. And this program does not draw the south node, but if it did, there would be a squiggle here at the top that is opposite of the one that was at the bottom here, okay, which is the south node that would be pretty much almost in between the P and that black line, okay, which is the midheaven. So this, first of all, we look at Amber's midheaven. The midheaven with this ascendant would be in Libra, which would give her Libra energy in her career, ruled by Venus. Okay, so we would be seeing her Venus. Her Venus, let me see what sign it's in. Okay, her Venus is in Taurus, the same as Johnny Depp. So that is like the double Venus, which conveys attractiveness, and basically to the outer world she would seem very attractive, and she would be looked at as somebody who is beautiful and attractive, okay? I'm really simplifying here, okay? But it kind of is consistent with the way in which she is seen. She is seen as a beautiful woman, and she uses that beauty as her career, in the sense that she plays the part of beautiful women in her acting, okay? Now, with this particular ascendant, the Pluto would end up in her 10th house of career, but it's also not just, the 10th house is not just career, but it's also fame and how you see, how you're perceived, okay, in your public role, okay? And she is perceived as Venusian, beautiful, but the public also picks up the Pluto, which is this intensity, and the dark side of Pluto can also be manipulation and misuse of power. Like there's a power scorpionic energy that is also coming across, okay? Now, that is conjunct her south node, meaning that her relationship with power is influenced, is a carry through from power that she misused in other lives, which, by the way, I had already seen when I was looking at things psychically. In fact, at some point, if you wanted, I did a past life reading for her, and some interesting things came out about that. Not about her and Johnny together, okay? I'm slightly reluctant sometimes about putting some of that stuff out there because it's, as I say, it's pure speculation. Do you know what I mean? It's not anything that can be proven in any way. And neither do we want to do that. So it's just for learning value, okay? So, but the Pluto on the south node would mean that there is a relationship with power that she has, that she is bringing in from past lives, and that she is, her soul wants to work on in this lifetime, okay? Now, the north node, which is here in the 4th house, close to the IC, tells us about what the soul is trying to do in this lifetime, okay? So the soul in this lifetime is working on herself, which is the sun, And the soul in this lifetime, if this ascendant were correct, it would mean that she's actually supposed to work on the domestic side of her life and not on the public side of her life. And it's interesting here that very often, as happens with the North Node, South Node axis, both get to play at the same time, right? So people oscillate between the two and both get to play at the same time. So we have a very public person that gets to have a very private experience, which is the fourth house, which is her North Node and soul direction, in which, however, everything becomes very public, in which, however, everybody gets to discuss her Pluto, which is her relationship to power or misuse of, if she's misusing it. And so there's this very private, public drama that is going on, which is exactly the direction of her North Node. And when I was saying North Node, South Node, and when I was saying that sometimes when I ask my guides for an ascendant, they give me an ascendant that will pull out the dynamics that I'm supposed to see. That doesn't necessarily mean that this is her ascendant, but it means that by picking this ascendant, this North Node, South Node ends up in the 4th and 10th house. And I think that that is what the guides wanted me to see. It's like, look at this Pluto, South Node, Sun, North Node dynamic of public, private, power, and the self. The public seeing the private as a way of healing the private. I mean, this is something that, this whole drama that is playing out for her, regardless of who is right and who is wrong, because my sense is that in some ways both of these people have their excesses, okay? And I'm not just talking about drug excesses. I mean, they both have tempers that can flare in some ways, okay? But there is something about the debate of this private public dynamic of power imbalance in relationship that is what her soul wants for her as a healing opportunity, ultimately wanting her to move more towards development of herself and less towards the pursuit of power, okay? Now, what else in here that is interesting? Let me just see if there's anything else that is interesting. Oh yes, it was the Neptune-Mars conjunction, okay? Now, Neptune is an interesting planet because at its highest level, Neptune is a spiritualizing planet, but when it is not used in its highest expression, it can be about deceit, it can be about creating an illusion, it can be about deception, okay? And here it is conjunct with Mars, so the Neptune could be spiritualizing that Mars, which is, as we said, the sexuality but also the aggression. But it could also be, first of all, in the sexual realm, it can create almost like an allure, like you can create a true illusion and very sexual persona that can be very alluring, okay? And but it also can be something that is cloaking the Mars, in the sense that there could be a anger issue that the Neptune is cloaking. The other thing that Neptune can do, and especially because it's square the moon, is that it can also, again, be about deception, okay? So there are significators of deception in the chart, And they are also significators of the ability to occult and hide, okay? And to create an illusion that covers up things, okay? Now, the other thing that I wanted to say about this Neptune Mars in Capricorn is that people that have Capricorn prominent are usually able to have long-term goals that they work towards and that they want to achieve. And with Mars there is the ability to work and put energy towards those long-term goals, okay? And Neptune is about glamour as well. And so sometimes people that have that conjunction can put a lot of energy towards reaching some kind of glamorous position, which can also signify wanting to kind of climb the ladder, especially in Hollywood, that is all about the glamour. It could be about doing that, okay? And again, notice how Neptune is prominent, and it's prominent on the ascendant, close to the ascendant if this were the real ascendant. But it's prominent in other ways too, which shows the same thing that we saw in Johnny Depp's chart, the ability to erase the self and put another self in front of it, which is basically what actors do. So very often when you look at the chart of actors, Neptune is prominent in some way, okay? And yeah, and the other thing that I wanted to say is that Amber Heard is somebody that seems to date powerful people, and powerful men in particular, and that she has, not everybody has that power. Not everybody has the power of pulling in very high-level people. For example, she dated Elon Musk, who is one of the richest men in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see that in the Sun-Pluto opposition and in the Sun conjunct the North Node, like that aspect, because Pluto is power, Sun is men, so, and the opposition is a relational aspect, so you can see that in the chart there as well, okay? Now, the other thing also about that Sun-Pluto opposition is that shows also possible abuse from the father, and if I remember correctly, she has had abuse in her past. And so, important to remember when looking at these people that a lot of people act out their wounds in one way or another, okay? You either process your wounds and integrate your wounds, or you end up acting them out. And so, however, we need to have compassion for the wounds, okay? All right, so this is all that I had to say for the moment on Amber's chart. I'm going to repeat one more time. Don't take this ascendant as her true ascendant. It's just what I was guided to pick so that we could have a look at her chart and see some aspects more prominently. I hope this was interesting, and if I have time tomorrow, I will do the synastry, that is the relationship between the two charts, between her and Johnny Depp. That would be all for now, and now I have to figure out how to close this. I'm closing it now. All right. Bye for now.